he heard my ask, and he thought about the 5 things that happened after that.
Yeah.
And it got so loud in his head, and his anxiety skyrocketed, and it paralyzed him. And the quickest way to make all that noise go away was to say no.
Pull up a chair, and let's have our first ever episode of DadTails.
Let's do it.
And we want everyone to pull up a chair, grab a drink. The pour of the week is the old fashioned. We're throwing it back to America's original, what I would argue, original cocktail.
Can I just say, I love the energy you're bringing right now. It's just dynamite.
Not all heroes wear capes. Okay?
Buddy.
So, what do you know about the old fashioned? Have you heard about this before? Heard about the cocktail? You had one?
I got to tell you, man, like my historical knowledge of cocktails is paper thin. So educate me.
Well, so let me educate you a little bit. Educate you on the old fashioned. So we're drinking an old fashioned tonight. The kind of earliest publication that I've been able to find on the old fashioned begins in 1806, where the recipe appears in a newspaper. And the recipe for it was a bourbon or rye whiskey, bitters, a sugar cube, and a splash of water. And that was it. And that recipe really continued in its kind of current, that form, until you reach the Prohibition era. And in the Prohibition era, as you know, they had to make alcohol underground. And when they made alcohol underground, let's just say that it didn't taste the best. And so they've kind of modified the old-fashioned recipe to include some muddled fruit because it made it taste better. So the recipe sort of remained in its general form with some orange or cherry or, other alcohol muddled in, or not alcohol, other fruit muddled in there. And that really continued through the mid-century. And even if you go to a bar today, you see sort of variations of that. But the name Old Fashioned is really, as people would come to order those, especially in the post-Prohibition era, they'd order an Old Fashioned and they'd want it the way we're having it tonight. And that's because they sort of were, it was a bit of a joke on sort of the overcomplication of the recipe. I want it the old-fashioned way, right? Which is that water, sugar cube, a little bit of bitters. We're using Angostura, which is the most common. A little bit of water. That's all you need.
So what you're saying is that this was the original cocktail. This is the first one they figured out how to make.
I mean, I'm sure there's earlier ones, but this is the first one we care about talking about because it earned the name. And what I heard was that we found a way to make cocktails so complicated so quickly that people just started saying, just take me back to the OG. Take me home, country roads. I need the OG.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Well, hey, I got to tell you, the taste is great.
Yeah. So cheers. So pull up a chair, pour yourself a glass. If you don't want an old fashioned, grab yourself a beer, and let's have a good old fashioned, although we have all this technology, conversation. What do you think about that?
Very on the nose, homie. Yeah. So let's start on the topic of faith, right?
Okay.
I'm not here to pull you in to a Sunday sermon. I'm not here to tell you get back into church right now and go sit at the front pew. I'm not being that guy. What I am telling you is that I believe that there are life lessons that we can garner from the Bible, just like we can from many other sources. And as a devout Catholic, I want to stay focused in on a parable from Matthew 25:14-30.
The parable of the talents, right?
That is correct. And
good choice.
I'm gonna give you the 10,000 foot view of this thing, right? So you have this very wealthy master who's going on a trip, and he has these 3 servants. Mm-hmm. And before he leaves, he gifts money to each of these servants, and 2 of them take that money after he's left, and they go out and they start work, and they double their money. But the 3rd servant, he's scared of failing his master. He's scared of losing the money. So he goes and hides it. He buries it. Mm-hmm. And then when the master comes back, the 2 servants that went out and invested their money and made something of it, he praises them. He tells them how great they've done and how well they've done in life to be able to execute this way. And then when the third servant comes back and says, "Here, master, I returned what you given to me. I did not spend. I did not waver from it. Here it is." He's scolded. He's scorned. He's thrown out.
Yeah,
into the
he
streets.
literally gets thrown out into the darkness where there's wailing and gnashing of teeth. Does that sound fun to you?
It does not sound fun to me. No. You know, and I think
10 of 10 would not recommend.
Yeah, 100 out of 10 would not recommend. You know, and there's an interesting lesson there. You know, for me, it's so much like talent, money, opportunity, not acted upon, is just as bad as wasting it or throwing it away. What do you think about that?
Well, I think it's crazy. The first thing that stands out to me is that Jesus was certainly a fan, it sounds like, of increasing shareholder value.
I would say so, yes.
because there's two that certainly increase shareholder value in a significant way. And there's one that does not. And the one that does not literally gets thrown out in the cold.
Do you ever see those people at work that are just pushing paper? Like, they're not.
I mean, in our careers, we've all seen, you know.
They're there everywhere. And there's certainly value, right, in being able to move the machine. But like when they're just pushing paper, you know, like it's not someone that is taking the investment that's been put in them and giving you a return.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. I don't think those people are climbing either. Yeah,
it's interesting. It kind of it brings me a little bit to the, you know, the conversations we've had around me restarting this podcast, right? You know, DadTails as a podcast existed a number of years ago. I started it with a friend, and we had a good run of a couple years and a number of episodes, and then life got in the way, and we, you know, ultimately decided to just, hey, we didn't have the time to do it anymore. And you know, I really like to talk, as you know, being my friend. I enjoy banter. I enjoy the conversation. And I think more than anything, especially, the reason when I first sort of conceived this idea of DadTails was, you know, I used to say, like, dads change diapers too. And, you know, we play an important role in our children's.
Hears you say that.
I know. Well, luckily my second is almost potty trained, so unless we have a third, I'm out of the woods, in the words of Taylor Swift. But, you know, dads need community. We need each other. And I want to bring dads along for the ride. And I want to have, you know, these are conversations we're having about life, about parenthood, about fatherhood, about business, right? In my garage, typically, over a cocktail. And I have a lot on my plate already. Got 2 kids, a job that I love. I like to do triathlons and other crazy things that take up time. But I also feel I have a talent and gift for this, and I don't want to waste that. I don't want to be like the servant that gets, you know, thrown out in the cold. And so here we are, sitting here, pulling up a chair, having a cocktail, having the conversations we're already having, just with microphones in front of us.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, if you've got all the equipment, why wouldn't you just record it? You know?
Exactly.
Because there's, when dads get together, free of other trials and tribulations, the things that come out of our mouths are just, sometimes very questionable, but sometimes very worthwhile.
Yep.
So, you know, let's take a pause and think about, like, as fathers, you know, like, our dads, probably big role models for both of us.
100%.
You know, what's a memory you got that, you know, just really resonates with you and your dad, or something that he did that just has stuck with you?
That's a really good question. And looking back to my own dad, I mean, I feel really blessed to have the dad that I did, to grow up in the family I grew up in. You know, both of my parents were teachers. They didn't make a lot of money. But the one thing that my dad always gave me was his time and his presence. And I'm not sure you could put a value on that. I mean, I would come home from school and he would come home from teaching and we'd play basketball in the driveway until it got dark. And that was just something he really modeled for me. He was just always there. Swim meets. You know, basketball. He coached me in basketball. He was there at my cross country meets. When I decided to be the stage manager for the play at my high school, or I was the high school mascot, they would come to the football games just to watch me. You know, and even now, as an adult, I've done some triathlons and stuff, and here my parents are. You know, this last June, I'm dragging them to Omaha to watch me in a triathlon. He's just like, yeah, we'll be there. You know, that's just how he is. And that's something that I catch myself doing with my own kids. You know, my daughter, my oldest, she gave me a book that she made for Father's Day that had some prompts in it. And one of the prompts was, you know, I like it or I love it when you ... And her thing was pick me up from school. And to me, it's like I do that every day. Right? I pick her up from school every day. Mostly because, you know, just my wife and I's schedules, it just works that I can go and get her. And for me, it's just sort of this monotonous activity. I go to get her from school. But to her, she recognizes that, like, my dad picks me up every day. He's there. And it's so interesting, like, that I catch myself doing that, right? Doing kind of the same thing my dad did. And I think we learn from our parents, right? I also think, conversely, you know, my dad at times when he would get frustrated would be, I'm turning the car around, or we're not going to get ice cream, or, you know, this or that, and like threaten to take stuff away. And I find myself doing that with my children too. So we get the good and the bad, right? But those are some memories I have of my dad that I feel I'm in some ways reliving and I've learned, you know, from my own father.
It's amazing, you know, the things that even like, there's always the good and the bad, but it's amazing, like, the things we grow up thinking, I'm never going to do this to my kids. And when I reflected on this week, the first thing that came to mind was the fast no. And for me, like, this didn't happen all the time. And I will tell you, all of you right now, like, my father is a good person. He's very kind. He's very generous. He's very giving. He's been an instrumental role model in my life. Like every other dad, he ain't perfect, right? So he had this thing where if I asked him to, like, go hang out with a friend, or like go to the pool, or do whatever, just some, like, just very innocent kid thing, right? If it was the wrong time of the day, or he wasn't in the right mood, it would just be an instant no. And it frustrated me so much growing up. I'd get so mad. I would vent to my mom, and she would try to explain it to me. I, of course, would not listen, because I already had it figured out. I was 11. Nobody knew better than me. Of course, right? Because, you know, preteen boy, who knows better than me, right? So, like, I would get so mad. Oh, man, I remember the screaming matches I would get in, you know, as I aged with my dad about it. And it didn't hit me until I became a dad. And I caught myself doing it.
Yep.
And then when I sat back and I analyzed, like, why did I just do that? You know, my wife got upset with me. My kid got upset with me. And I'm like, there was nothing dangerous about what she asked to go do. There was nothing harmful about it. There was nothing that was going to inconvenience me.
Yeah.
What I realized is that she asked me, Dad, can I have my friend come over? And then I thought about, well, it's almost lunchtime. Do I need to feed that kid? And if I feed that kid, what's going to happen to quiet time? And if we don't have quiet time, what's going to happen then? And then if we don't...
We've all been here.
And it compounded, you know? And all of a sudden it was like, nope, we can't do that. And the fast no came out of my mouth. And it was like, I realized my dad, he didn't want me to not have fun. He didn't want me to go do things. He heard my ask, and he thought about the 5 things that happened after that.
Yeah.
And it got so loud in his head, and his anxiety skyrocketed, and it paralyzed him. And the quickest way to make all that noise go away was to say no. Yeah. And again, my father, good person, but it's something I catch myself doing. And the last year, I would say more than ever, and I've worked on this before then, but the last year more than ever, now that, my daughters are both, getting to that point where they want to go hang out with friends, they want to go and do things independently, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
It's like I consciously have to manage myself. And I consciously have to say, like, it's okay if you don't know what the answer to X, Y, Z, A, B, C is.
Yeah.
We can make it work. And it's tough. It's so tough. And I think about it all the time.
Yeah. I think the lesson in all of this, and whether we're sharing a good memory or a more complicated one or whatever it is, right, is our kids don't need us to be perfect parents. They don't. And I think sometimes as dads, in my mind, it's like I get it in my head, hey, I have to be a perfect parent. And I don't. You don't. Right? Our kids, I tell my oldest, before your sister was born, you got all of our attention, but you also got all of our mistakes, right? Because we're figuring this out. Our parents were figuring it out. Their parents were figuring it out, right? Parenting is such an exercise in sort of delayed gratification. Like you do the best you can with what you have, and sometimes you've got it figured out and you feel like, hey, I handled that perfectly and I'm on top of the world. And sometimes you're like, wow, I didn't handle that well at all. And like, I don't even know what I'm doing.
Do you ever feel like, yeah, absolutely.
Like, do you ever feel like that? Because that's,
but do you ever think like with your second kid, you're making like a whole slew of like new mistakes?
100%.
Like there were no lessons learned whatsoever. And it's just like, with the first kid, I messed up like 99% of the time. And you know what? I just feel like doing that again.
Well, and I what's interesting too is our children are so different as well, right?
Oh.
And how we parent them has to change.
Gosh.
Like my first and my second are completely different children. And that's okay. Like that's great. But it also means that I have to parent them differently. Oh. And I'm like, I only know how to parent this one. I don't know what I'm doing with this one. I'm trying to figure it out now.
So my first, and I think this is pretty true of most firstborn children, she wants to make sure that everyone is included, everyone feels happy, that everyone feels like they're heard. And she's a little worker bee. To know and to make that happen. My second born could care less about anything that anybody else has to say. And candidly, talking about like parenting differently, our second born learned at like 18 months, if my sister is doing something that I do not like, all I have to do to get her to do what I like is grab a fistful of her hair and not let go. And I thought that was a phase. It has not been a phase.
That's just how she is.
That's just how she is, SOB.
But that's the beauty of, parenthood certainly keeps you on your toes. And I think it's a good reminder as we even think about how we were parented, right? Our parents did the best job they could, and they weren't perfect, but we turned out okay. And we love our parents. We respect them. We have, good relationships with them, etc. And it's just a good reminder that, again, to kind of wrap this up in a bow a bit, our kids don't need us to be perfect. And as fathers, if we're putting that on ourselves, that, hey, I have to be perfect, you don't. And it's okay.
Let me dovetail there for a second. I think another thing to really take away from this and connect it to the segment on faith is act.
Yep.
Don't sit, just act. And I think as fathers, for us, like that was the lesson from the faith segment. It was don't just waste an opportunity. Go and seize it. Go and act upon it. Whatever it is, like whether you're geared toward it or not. Like something I say all the time at work is make them tell me no. Just go and do it and see what they say. And
yeah, I mean, you can't get the sale if you don't ask for it.
You're gonna miss every shot you don't take. And
Michael
you know,
Scott
at the end of the day, it's like, you know, the lesson from the parable is go and do.
Yep.
The lesson here from our dads is like show up.
Yep.
Do the thing and do it over and over and over again.
Yep.
Because that's the thing that's going to teach them. And I've got a good one for you in this next segment. So
what's that?
Sit on that. Sit on those two things.
Yeah.
Keep that in your mind.
Okay.
AI. Fun topic, right?
Yes, it's all the rage.
All the rage.
Wow.
So fun.
So trendy.
Is it a shocker that that's the topic? So let me
it's a
expand.
good topic, though. We need to discuss this.
Let me give you the full topic on AI because it's not the fun kind; it's the scary kind. Here's the thing.
Okay.
I believe that AI is going to erode, if not eliminate, a lot of entry level jobs. And you know, for the phase I'm at in life, phase we're at in life, with our kids the ages we are, like we've got a little bit of time to work with here.
Yep.
But if my kids were about ready to enter the workforce, I'd be very concerned. I wouldn't know what to tell them about what to do.
Okay. Before we, I'm going to be honest. Based on your premise, I fundamentally disagree. But give me more of like why you feel that way, because I don't agree with that premise.
All right, so let me shape this up for you. So the things that we're able to do with even truncated forms of AI, you see that in these areas where like company controlled LLM silos, like with Gemini or with Copilot. But then you look at the frontier AI, like what's going on with ChatGPT and Claude and Grok, and the things that those models are capable of. Not only can they do the rudimentary day-to-day tasks, but they can go wildly beyond to a point where, like, do you need analysts? Do you need software engineers? And these questions start coming in. And it's like, how do we know what is necessary anymore?
But these questions aren't new. I mean, they've been happening since the Industrial Revolution or the dot-com bubble. I mean, these questions about, all these big, bad, scary innovations in technology are going to replace us, and frankly, they haven't to this point. So why is AI different? I mean, that's my argument, is why is AI different? Now, I know that there are counter arguments to that, of course, but I fundamentally believe that humans and our corporations have a vested interest in ensuring that we don't become sort of pets and cogs in the machine, which is what will happen if you allow AI to replace us. So I think that I just fundamentally disagree on the premise, I guess.
And I would say like that premise, it's very mainstream, right? Like all the talking heads want you to believe that threat is out there. Now, if we think about it more pragmatically, like from a business standpoint, because they are frontier models, they are doing this crazy, wild, sophisticated things, but that's not where they're making their money. They're making their money by the day-to-day transactional things.
Exactly.
Help me build this formula in Sheets.
exactly. You still have human inputs. How are we replacing?
Let me make my point, homie.
Okay.
So
I'm getting fired up.
Hey, listen, it's an interesting topic, and it's tough to like pick a firm side, but like
Copilot, basically.
Essentially, yeah.
Okay.
Now, that's really scary for companies like OpenAI and Anthropic because all the money is in the high token consumption activities, which is in the day-to-day operations.
Yeah.
Now, this is twofold. Some people would think, oh, well, that means that, the frontier brain companies are going to die. We're going to normalize this particular level of AI, and that's going to be it. And it's just going to accelerate certain job activities. I disagree. I think that what this indicates is there is a normalization of basic AI capability that companies will be able to design and silo in their own safe locations and grow in whatever way they feel necessary. But then the innovation arm of this still exists within the frontier brain. And maybe that looks different in a few years, but
but how does that impact people's jobs? Because I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm being the eternal optimist because that's how I go through life. I just see things with a glass half full mentality. I mean, at the end of the day, I still just believe that, corporations, maybe not so much, but certainly the human condition would indicate that people don't want to be run by a computer or be beholden to a machine. And so I think the ethics of AI particularly really start to matter here. And I think that corporations are going to play a leading role in figuring out how we leverage AI to its full capacity while also keeping some level of guardrails around it. Because if you don't, corporations are going to go away.
How do you figure?
I mean, if AI can do everything, then what's the point? Well,
the owner's profit.
Okay, so
here's the counter argument, right? And I don't know how good this is or not, but we talk about, like, you want to tell me that people don't want to be the pets of computers and AI, right?
I mean, I think they have a vested interest in not doing that, but
so they act in their own self-interest. Yes,
yeah,
we can agree about that.
I would argue that. Yeah.
Would you also agree that people naturally pursue the path of least resistance?
Yeah, but do they have to be?
Don't give me all the flowers. Just give me the yes or no, the binary.
Yes.
Okay. So in that instance, if you're the owner of $1 billion organization and you see a path for let's say 20 years, you can make $800 million a year after you spend $1 billion.
Of course, you're going to pursue that.
Right, and that's my point, right?
Yeah, but it's one to many. You think that all the people that are getting left out in the cold are going to stand for that? I don't buy that.
Well,
I don't buy that. That's the problem. You're leaving too many people in the cold.
So I got to tell you, I agree with that.
Oh wow, we agree on something.
Well, hey, homie, come on. I'm just saying, like, if I put myself in the shoes of an owner, and all of a sudden I can cut so much overhead so fast, it's like, why wouldn't I do that? And to your point earlier, like, the ethics come into play.
Yeah, but there's also when you make that efficiency play, there's institutional knowledge that exists that AI doesn't understand.
You say that, but I'm telling you, like the NVIDIA CEO and the Anthropic CEO and many others that have talked about, like, there's a shift now between, like, prompt engineering to loop engineering. Like, if you don't know what loop engineering is,
figure it out.
Figure it out, but don't feel bad. Like, it's a thing.
It's a new thing.
The premise is this. A loop is very simply like you have a self-enhancing prompt, right? You've got a prompt that generates memory into a knowledge base outside of the LLM that the LLM has access to, and based on interactions and outputs of that prompt, it enhances the prompt and it enhances the knowledge base, and it's isolated. And it's, so we talk about, like, is this this generation's ERP revolution? Is it this generation's
.com level?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
industrial revolution.
Like, whatever. And I think the enigma here is simply, like, those things couldn't learn on their own once they were set up. Like, could they improve? Yeah, of course they could improve. Could they, like, be refined and optimized? Of course they could be. That was all human driven. But now you create these loops for AI, and just based on events that trigger it, self-teaches. And we haven't had that before. And that's, I think, the scary part that's got all the talking heads and why I'm trying to take this position in the argument. Like, how is this different?
Okay, but so I mean, I don't necessarily disagree with you that it's scary. There's a lot of unknown. But also, how do you square, in my mind, so let's just take sales, for instance. People buy from people. People don't want to buy from AI. I'm sorry. I don't believe people want to buy from AI. If I get a call or I call into a customer care agent and it's really clear it's AI, it pisses me off. Oh, we're going to connect you. I got to go through 15 prompts and a call tree to get to a customer care agent that can actually help me. Right? People want to engage with people still. The business is still done people to people. When we started, even when we started this venture, it's people together talking about stuff, engaging. It's so hard for me to envision a world where all this is just automated, because there's a certain element of the human condition that just needs human connection. And again, I'm probably being idealistic, because at the end of the day, there's money involved, there's shareholder value involved, there's these other things, right, that are ancillary to what I'm talking about, which is this idealistic concept of the human connection. But at the end of the day, we're still innately human. And I have a hard time believing that we as humans are going to allow ourselves to sort of become secondary to a machine. I just don't. I think can that be complementary to us and to the world we live in and to the work that we do and create efficiencies and help us to be smarter and do things better? Yes, but I think there's a certain point that exists where it's like there will be a bridge too far. Maybe I'm wrong, and I don't know.
It's tough to say. I don't think any of us can really know at this point. AI is evolving at such a rate that we just haven't seen it before. Like, we've seen this level of disruption.
Yeah.
We've seen the ERP revolution in manufacturing. Yeah, it destroyed a lot of blue collar jobs. It created so many white collar jobs, so many software engineering jobs, so many analytics jobs. Insane.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I don't think we know yet how we evolve with this. I think the lesson you got to take away with this is understand as much as you can about it. Never stop learning.
Yeah. So let me pose you a question here, because I think I'd like to put a bit of a not a bow on this, but I'd like to bring this full circle, because we're talking about business, and you started the conversation around this topic with how it's scary for our children, because we don't know, when you look into the future 20 years, or even 10 years or 15 years, when our kids are going to be graduating college, what does that look like for them? And we don't know, right? But let's put you. I want you to put yourself in the shoes of just a dad, right? And let's fast forward a few years in the future. Our kids are getting ready to graduate from college, right? And they're looking at a landscape that is increasingly automated, which we both would agree with. How scary that is, I think, is probably what we're debating here. What would you tell them? What would you tell your oldest? Hey, she's getting ready to graduate, getting ready to get her first job, trying to figure it out. What do you say?
And we're framing this in today's market.
Yeah, in today's market, right? But because 15 years from now or 10 years from now, we don't really.
There's a lot of variables at play that we don't know. Okay, so I begrudgingly am going to feed your point. Pick a job that requires two human beings to be in the room. And, whether that is speech pathology, whether that is education, whether that's a trade,
yep,
underwater welding,
electrician,
plumber, HVAC,
yeah,
Pick something that requires two human beings to be in the room.
It's good.
And because I don't think that we're anywhere near a space where that's going away anytime soon.
That's something that we would agree on. Yeah.
And we'll probably be wrong about. And the robotics industry will probably catch up way faster than what we're thinking. But I digress.
Yeah.
I think you hit the nail on the head. And I think the advice you got to give right now is find the job where the relationship management means more than anything else.
Yep.
And as long as the center of the role and the functional business requirement is that you got to maintain a strong relationship, you're safe.
Yeah.
And,
I agree with that.
It's different for us. Like, I think you and I are at a stage in career and at a point along this like evolution that we're safe. Because the thing I would tell professionals today is work your tail off, climb the ladder.
Yep.
Because it's the basic stuff that people are going to try to eliminate. It's not the sophisticated things, because I think a lot of it comes down to trust too.
Yep.
And it's so much of it's about like, I've worked with Johnny for 5 years, and Johnny works his tail off, and I know how he executes, and I trust his level of execution.
Yep.
Whereas, Claude and ChatGPT and Grok, they're all
they're wild cards. They can hallucinate and make stuff up.
And they're wrong.
Yeah.
They are wrong from time to time, and but they're very convincing when they're wrong. Which not to say that you don't have people like that, but the AI is it reassures you. It knows what it's talking about until you push back. And the other thing you got to be careful about with AI is that it's built to agree with you. Yeah,
it's built to enforce bias and essentially create an echo chamber. And I think that's the other thing. I mean, I think your points on what you would tell your kids are very valid, and I agree with them. I would add two things. Number one, no job is too small. One of my old bosses used to say the most important line in your job description is other duties as assigned. If my job today asked me to clean the toilets, I would clean the toilets. I don't care. Like I will. There's no job that is too small for me. There are jobs that I don't like doing, but that doesn't mean it's too small for me to do. I will do it, because at the end of the day, I think it's important that we tell our kids they need to be team players. You need to do what is right. You need to do what's asked of you. And you may not always love it. You may not love every piece of your job.
And also, nobody likes that guy that says, "Oh, that's not my job.
That's not my job." I mean, think about it. Have you worked with people that are like, "That's not my job"? It's like, well, it is your job today, sir.
And every single time that I've worked with that person, it's like, "Oh my gosh,
it's
just quit already."
Yeah,
I'm tired of it.
At the end of the day, the job that you're asked to do is important to the company. I mean, there's and you do it if you're asked to clean the toilets, do it to the best of be the best toilet cleaner you can be, whatever it is, right? And I'm embellishing because we're not being asked to do that. But if they asked me to, I would do it.
I think what a lot of professionals our age forget is that like sometimes you get asked to do something that is very clearly outside of your vertical, very clearly outside of your realm, but you're being asked to do it. Because the leadership recognizes your capability to lead a project.
And they think that you are important in this moment, in this time, in the company to get the job done.
And they're trusting you to do it.
100%.
But they don't say that. It's never said.
No, but it's certainly. I mean, the implication.
The implication is that. Well, my point is that like so many people are just like, that's not my job. I don't want to do that. That's dumb. Like, why do I have to do that? And they complain.
Yeah.
And it's like, homie, listen, you're showing up every day. You got to work.
Yep.
And whoever is above you is going to assign you tasks. And it doesn't matter if it's in your job description or not. Just do the tasks. And if you get to a point where you've shown staying power in a role over a period of time and you've executed at a high level in things that you care about, then tell them you want to do something else. And either that company will let you do it or someone else will.
100%.
I feel so blessed today that like I was recruited by the company I'm at now.
Yep.
and they have empowered me so much. And it's wild. And it's that, like, my boss's boss, and the whole team cares. Yep. And they're giving me the investment, and they're investing not only in me, but my team.
Yeah.
And you only get that when you put your nose to the grind.
Yep. 100%.
And you go and you do, and you show those people that you will get your hands dirty and you know how to execute.
Yep.
And it's just
the second thing I'd say, and this is, I'd love your take on this. You know, I think my argument to some of the AI stuff has been that in the course of history, there's always been change. There's always been disruption. And our generation is no different. I think the one thing I would tell my kids, I mean, and this is something, I mean, it's a little cliche, but obviously you can't change what happens to you, but you can certainly change how you respond to it, right? And I think the way that we can respond to the world we're living in and the change that we're undergoing is to be a lifelong learner. You know, because there are, you know, you can say that, hey, 16,000 jobs are going to be eliminated by AI and whatever it might be. And those things could be true. I don't know. I mean, again, I think we're living in such a period of tumult related to this that I think there's a lot of unknown. But I think the people that win over the course of the long term are going to be lifelong learners, because there's still going to be a need for cybersecurity. There's still going to be a need for trades. There's still going to be a need for teachers. I mean, I don't think that stuff goes away. I mean, I am learning new stuff every day in my current role, and I've been in my role for a few years, and I'm still learning new stuff every day.
And you have to be willing to. Like, there has to be a willingness to do that, and as long as there's a willingness to, like, you will.
Well, and I think it comes from that place of humility. Like, there is no job that is too small. There is no thing that I don't, like, there's no question, you know, I mean, there's no such thing as a dumb question, as Travis and Jason Kelsey say. There's just dumbass people. And I hate phrasing it that way in some ways, but I don't, because I think at the end of the day, we all should operate from that place of being a lifelong learner. There's no job that's too small for me. There's no question that I know the answer. I know every answer to. I mean, I don't. And operating from a place of humility, I think, is something that's going to be so important over the next 5, 10, 15 years as we go forward with this, you know, AI and all the change we're seeing. The people that are humble, that don't have all the answers, that are willing to learn, that are willing to grow, that are willing to adapt, are going to be the ones that win. And companies that adapt, companies that embrace, companies that challenge sort of the status quo are going to be the ones that win. So I think that's how I maybe close it. Not maybe you disagree or agree, but we've had I think a good debate.
I would agree.
So maybe to close this first episode, which is kind of crazy to think we've recorded now our first episode, you know, I want to reflect a little bit just on kind of that weekly cadence. We want to be a place for men especially to engage with us, not only to listen, but also to engage in social media, LinkedIn, YouTube, X, Facebook. You know, we're on all the channels, right? Engage with us, engage with the content. Give us your opinion. Hey, if you disagree with us or you agree with us, great. Like, we want to hear that.
At DadTails across all platforms.
Exactly, across all platforms. We're going to talk about business. We're going to talk about faith. We're going to talk about family and marriage and parenthood and how we don't have it all figured out. And that's okay. It goes back to that kind of premise that we talked about. Our kids and our wives and even our employers don't need perfection. They need us to show up, give our best, figure it out along the way. And I think that's really what we're doing together, is recording these conversations, the raw, unfiltered, you know, not sort of gold-plated, perfect life conversations. That's what we want to bring. And so we're hoping that you will come along this journey with us, that you'll pull up a chair, that you'll pour yourself the cocktail of the week or a beer and figure it out with us, right? It's like we don't have it all figured out, and that's okay. And I'm really glad you're on this journey with me. I'm glad we're doing this. I think it's going to be a really fun adventure. And I can't wait to see in 20, 30, 40 episodes where this is taking us.
Oh, man. It's going to be a heck of a ride. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. Thomastown Distillery, if you're listening to this, just know you could be a sponsor.
And with that, bid you farewell. And thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. And have a great week.